Good morning from New York. And today's subject, inner mind communication, the freedom principle, democracy, and the mystic healing path. Okay, another long video. Okay, what is the freedom principle? Well, if you first of all start from basically what is freedom? Freedom from is the big question. So, the freedom from what? The freedom to get your needs met. And otherwise, freedom just doesn't have a whole lot of meaning to it. Freedom from what? Freedom to do what? Freedom to do anything is a license. I can do anything. Well, yeah, but that's problematic. That impinges on the same freedom of other people, certainly. And so, what is essential to the maximum amount of freedom that you can have? The maximum ability to be in the love flow, which is the path of mystic, to give and to receive basic human needs and desire fulfillment. Well, to do that, you need perspectives that help with that. Communication is vital to freedom. The freedom of speech concept in the United States is very important. So, but should you be free to say, should it be licensed? Should you be free to yell fire in a crowded theater? No, because people will rush to the doors and people will be killed in the crush. If it's big enough, you got to be careful. That's why the freedom principle is also what I call wise freedom, which is another name for it. And how do you have this freedom principle, this wiser freedom? Well, you need wise communication. And what is wisdom? Well, wisdom is the ability to see things from a lot of different perspectives and to put them together effectively. And that, of course, requires data, which means memories. So we tend to think of older people as potentially wiser. Yeah. So, and then you hear wise beyond their years. Well, there are people like that. Yeah. Anyway, so what is this freedom principle? Well, it's a guiding rule. Really? I thought freedom threw out the rules. Well, wise freedom doesn't. Maximum real freedom to get your needs met and your desires met and everyone else getting their needs and desires met, the maximum ability to do that requires a principled approach. Well, what are the three major ways in which we, or perspectives, that we take in getting human needs met? I've defined these before as objective, creative, and compassionate. These also are forms of empathy, which means you do these things in a wise, caring kind of way. And that means respecting your needs and other people's needs as well. So, that gives us the maximum amount of permissible freedom for everyone. And so these things need to be balanced. If you look at the social structure, internal structure is, if you're going into your imagination and you're communicating from these perspectives to your experiential, dramatic self, your more emotional, impacted self, which are called the kid. You have an internal counselor, which is your voice of objectivity, and you have your internal caregiver, which is your voice of compassion, and you have your voice of creativity, which is your voice of artfulness. Your voice of creativity, which produces artfulness. Objectivity produces truth, and goodness comes from compassionate empathy. We need these virtues of goodness, truth, and artfulness in order to smooth the way so that we have a greater freedom for everyone. Because if, to the degree anybody is a slave, we're all enslaved. So we want to be free as much as we can. Of course, this is, that's the human perspective. Now you also have to consider respecting the earth, and other life forms, and getting the maximum freedom for life itself to exist and to continue our welcome in this world. So overheating the planet is not an empathetic kind of path. It's not the mystic path. Greed is not the mystic path. Greed is not the path of freedom. Forcing things on people, without consideration of their needs and feelings and so on, without these perspectives of creative, compassionate, and objective empathy is unkind and unduly unkind, and hurts the rightful freedom of the individual. So then there's the weight of social needs as opposed to the individual's needs, or the world's needs, and the human society needs. Well, where you find conflicts, then you need to apply these perspectives and come up with the best solution. In the structure within you, when you're using the mystic path, looking within, you have your own internal artist, your own internal, which is kind of cool. I've talked about what that is. It's the creative ability that you have that can allow you to step outside of everything. It's the imaginer of all your imaginations of who you are, who other people are, and so on. Now, then there's your internal counselor that helps you move forward in time from the present, going forward in an objective kind of way, and to consider objectively anything that happened in the past. Then there's but mostly it's about present moving forward in terms of how you experience it, and your own internal caregiver, which is about helping needs, feelings, and so on to be expressed. That is its main function. And so, that goodness is something that helps you in the present, obviously, and how you view a desired future. But mostly it's about the present, looking inwardly to your feelings and memories of the past. And that's where healing begins. It is the closest thing to how you feel as a dramatic self. It's closer to your survival needs. Secondarily, perhaps it's the objective, what you do to get your needs met now and in the future. And then the creative is up above. That perspective is up above your perceived timeline and the story of your life. And it's the part of you that calls you to this advancement of the principle of freedom. Well, the principle of freedom is that you don't silence these voices, that these voices are fully free to operate. And to encourage that, you might seek a certain amount of balance so that these perspectives are working together. They're more powerful when you use them together. If you're feeling your past and integrating the good from the past, but you're not doing anything to advance better into the future, then you're in a mess. If you're advancing into the future, but you don't have the platform of a clear feeling connection with yourself and your memories due to trauma and so on, then your very vision of the future is going to be tainted with symbolic sorts of things replacing needs that were once too attached to a feeling of helplessness at that time, a real helplessness at the time the trauma occurred, which limits that ability to be really connected. And in the way that it does that, as I've said a million times, it's seeking after a more attainable symbol of need, which supports a kind of unreal sense of who you are, which isn't good for going into the future. You got to be grounded, as they say. It's hard to do that if the very core of who, survival core of you is suffering damage and delusions, symbolic, need and conditions replacing the real conditions and needs of the past. And also, when you do that, you never enter into a grieving about the loss of those needs and so on at the time. And you cannot progress then to true forgiveness from your heart, and can't go from there to real repentance. I've talked about this a lot of times. Okay, so all of these things are intricately connected. The ability to get outside of your timeline, to encourage yourself, and keep your hopes up in a really challenging world. You need to be very artful and see things. You get outside of yourself. Is to see yourself as others see you, as the one poem says. What a gift it is to be given. That ability. So, now moving forward, what is the principle? Again, what is the principle of freedom? The wise or wiser freedom. You need a balance of these things. In society, what does that mean? And this hinges on our understanding of politics and so on. We need a balance of voices between what internally is your dramatic self, where the tire meets the road, your closest feelings of survival, is where you feel the biggest impact. The caregiver, the counselor, and the artist, your internal artist. Now, in society, there's a mirror of this. Business is a lot like it's the more survival perspective. It's trade, which is essential for one's survival in the world. There has to be kind of a trade. You say, well, babies don't trade. Yes, they do. They give us a sense of a future for ourselves, and they give us great satisfaction and ability to engage in the love flow, helping the helpless. Absolutely, that helps the love flow. It's love is not just giving or receiving; it's both, and we're all engaged in it. We're involved in trade. So, trade is at the core of any society. Period. If you want to call that capitalism, go ahead. Whatever you want to call it. But trade is essential. It's the business of business is business, and the business of life is business. Whatever. You get this. I'm trying to be funny, but I'm not a good comedian, so. Which is funny. This is at the core of society. The institution we call business is an institution that's about trade. And how is that trade educated? See? How is it improved to give us the maximum freedom? Well, the institutions which are about, that fulfill a sense of extended family and, compassion. That voice needs to be unfettered and heard. That doesn't include a tribalistic kind of sense, hopefully. Um, Whereas compassion doesn't have those boundaries, or shouldn't. And that's why spiritual but not religious, um, because compassion shouldn't have those boundaries. Churches should be about extended family and fulfilling the basic extended family needs, which is very interesting. So I will divert for a moment from the social perspectives or institutions that are a mirror of these things within you to the family structure. The kids are like the kid in you, right? Obviously. The mother is, mothers love with their heart, you know. The corpus callosum is better and bigger, you know. It's a more immediate, compassionate response, you know, and concern. And with males, we are to be there to help guide into the future, who Father loves with his teaching. That isn't to say in any case that these things are actually easily divided like that. No, they're not. It's a matter of the major perspective that you're looking at. Because the whole person is always all of these things, and so wherever there are people, then you have all these perspectives operating. There's the business of church, yeah. But in the family structure, which extended family should be about supporting, you have the child, the mother, and the father. What about grandparents? Grandparents are more like the artist, you know, the artfulness, the wisdom, the many memories being used as a kind of education on what to do and what not to do, and a perspective outside. So from the child's perspective, the grandparent gives them the concept that, hey, my own parents had parents, okay? That's very important. It's kind of outside of the basic family unit, and it gives a perspective from outside. That's the creative. That's the artist role. So, and that is many times, you know, it creates the power of the inner artist is to create memories and a future, you know, a vision of the future. And so the power of the grandparent is in their stories and their perspective as outside of what's going on in the core family. Extended family, that's the basic minimum of what you need for an extended family, and it goes beyond that, of course. The supports of this basic family structure. So, yeah, and you know, you have the grandparents parenting the parents while the parents parent the kids. You know, gives a little more reflection, just like the mystic's connection to the inner artist, and that's what a mystic is to connect to the artfulness inside oneself, the imaginer of one's imaginations, and in a sense the creator of one's experiences in a sense, which is, again, like I said, that's your brain. Um, so this is important. Democracy. I'll get to that in a minute. So let's finish the institutions. Um, I've mentioned business. I've mentioned what's usually called church legally, extended family organizations, and then the voice of government. What is that? Well, that's the inner counselor. That's the part of us that comes up with the laws and says, well, you can have this, but you can't have all that. If you have all that, then, my gosh, the optimal freedom for everyone becomes impinged. So, it's the objective kind of view. You would think, would it be more scientists in that group? Well, we need scientists everywhere. In all the groups. Yeah. Because they are the supreme mystics. Because they know how to handle mystery. And really appreciate it. So, isn't that the path of the mystic? I think so. So, what in the world is the artist in society? What institution do we have? The media. It's the media that gives you the arts. Everything. All of the perspectives. They are the way that you have television and radio and the internet and everything. That's all media. That's all of the mediums. You hear artists and big experts in different mediums, or I believe that could be said. If you're a painter or an artist of some kind, correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, the media fulfills that role. They have an obligation to showing all the perspectives and making sure that all of the voices are heard. But of course, they are artful, so the helpful voices, not someone dragging a wooden cross around and going, the end is near. You might give that a moment on News Live at 8. But you wouldn't pay a lot of attention to that. You would pay more attention to what the stock markets are doing or whatever. So, yeah, that's the artfulness in society, that institution, the media. Now, if you silence the media, if you silence business, if you silence the voice of the government or the voice of extended family, church, then you do not have the optimal wise freedom that should be guiding humanity. You don't have that. And that's all about democracy. You say democracy can be the oppression of the majority over the minority. Well, that's why you have to filter democracy through these different perspectives. You have to have wise freedom, or democracy can become the oppression of the majority over the minority. But the media makes sure that the minority is heard. And Yeah, and the government makes laws not just respecting the majority, hopefully. And yeah, so you need a little wise freedom, though. Like I say, it's kind of artificial to divide these things up in a way because wherever there are people, you've got all these perspectives, and they are involved in each institution. So there's the business of the media. You got to have the trade, the money coming in. But it's a matter of the major perspective involved. It gets complicated from there and above my pay grades. We have experts in many fields that might be helpful to elaborate on this. But in a nutshell, the little that this dumb brain can grasp is I presented that. The mystic healing path. The mystic healing path is, well, it's spiritual, but not religious, for one thing. Religion tends to be tribalistic, so that isn't in keeping with the philosophy of the principle of freedom or wise freedom, which is the maximum real experience freedom of each individual. Yeah, so as we become, more democratic in a wise kind of way, well, we grow as a culture, as a society, as a world. All the voices need to be heard, and that's what democracy is about. And but it doesn't mean that the majority should be allowed to rule. That would be insane in democracy. Wise freedom has to be considered the balance of voices. The mystic healing path. Mystic healing path is the integration of all of these perspectives within the individual, within society. So you have to be an activist. If you're getting it inside yourself, you're getting that right. You got to get it right between yourself and other people. You need to get it right in the world. So within your abilities, contribute what you can, and have faith that in the love flow you will be included. But there are those who transcend themselves in these efforts. Well, that's the artist. The artist transcends our sense of a timeline. It transcends a lot of our biases, and helps you see different perspectives. And actually, since the artist in you is the imaginer of all you imagine, it is the source of all of these concepts and all of these, how we imagine these things to be and within ourselves and society. So it's the source. Regarding something that's beyond science, could there be a personal God? A lot of people don't know. Well, dunno. You'd say Neil deGrasse Tyson's perspective is that if there is a God, you can't be all caring and because obviously it's not, from a human perspective, designed for us. Horrible things can happen to us, whether we have a personal God or not. And so it can't be all powerful and all good. If he's all good, he definitely isn't all powerful. And if he's all powerful, then he's not all good. I would like to give a third option. If the supreme conscious rule, if there is such, would have to be a little psychopathic. It would be something that feeds off all of the potential experiences, maybe perhaps from a higher dimension, and yet would have to be approachable. So, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I'm equal to everyone. Let happen, let it fly. I'm fair to everyone, everything, every that kind of love is a love not just for humans. It's a love for everything to have its opportunity to exist in a multiverse. That's quite possible. And yet he says, I'm equal to everyone and everything. Not biased at all. But the one that is a friend to me, I'm a friend to that one. Well, how do we interpret that? Well, if you are in a friendly relationship with your inner artist, your life improves, generally, and it helps you to go through the worst of times with an appreciation for what's still good. And so in that sense, you can be in touch. And could it be something paranormal? I've had things that have happened to me that seem to be something that a lot would call paranormal. But if you're looking at higher dimensions, dimensions of time, which is something that I've thought about quite a bit, there could be a dimension from which what I call the past and the future are in the single sense of present. And so everything's going on at once. And not, it's kind of illusory, because what is the present, to even have a concept of the present, it's a little bit past and a little bit future, so it's part of a flow, so there's no point along the way that you say, here it is. So if there's higher dimensions of space-time, then, there could be a dimension where you can interact, if you would share to, in a way that you would see the ahead in the future and deeper into the past. So a sense of presence, of present time in a higher dimension could be, it seemed like almost prophetic for us. So, yeah, and so there were, and not only prophetic, but in terms of the whole picture, an ability to grasp a wider range of experiences and information. So, knowing something that you can't figure out how in the world you could know that, things that have happened in near-death experiences that seem to be paranormal. Maybe not. Well, paranormal, meaning our space-time. Yeah, but it could be that there's some interaction between. So the jury is out, but it's still important to be spiritual. That means a connection to your inner artist. And if it's more than that, then experience it in your life. Enjoy it. Something remarkable happened. I've had such experiences, but I'm not going to say, "Oh, I know where that came from. I understand what that is." That can't be explained. How would I know if it can't be explained? I don't know. So religion would push that on somebody else, and that's ridiculous. Show the path and let people experience what they experience. Here's the experiment. Do it yourself. And and the healing path, of course, of the mystic healing path is what I've talked about so many times, is taking that damaged faith in life and looking at it from different perspectives so that the symbolic covering that occurred because of the helplessness involved in the trauma or the damaged faith in love. That symbolic covering, which was necessary when the trauma was present and real, in order for you to not be overwhelmed by anxiety. But when you're in a safer position from all these perspectives, then you can begin to grow in your comfort zone and embracing more objectivity, creativity, and compassion. And what that does is it breaks down the ability of the brain to hold the symbolic as real, and you start to see the cracks, the things that don't match, and that's the real path of healing. And that's why you get outside help or whatever. Make sure they understand these things, and make sure they've been there, and that would be your true profession. I don't accept all. People who have an education that might be helpful at them. That's good, but do they really get the point? And do they understand all these things? I think they need to, if they're going to be dealing with trauma. And they need to experience it themselves. That's valuable. It's just like the grandfather, grandmothers. They've been there. They've experienced things. It's valuable. Their stories are valuable. And they're free to be at play. Isn't that cool? They're free, like the artist in you is free to be at play with the grandkids. And you hear that a lot. If it comes to them needing to fathering and mothering and just handing them back to the parents, I'm just, I'm giving them fun. I'm giving them the ability to appreciate life. I'm taking them out for ice cream, helping them cheat a little, on the restrictions. Just enjoying that. Just enjoying them. That's something I really, don't run away to Florida or wherever the holiday or retirement places in your country. Don't run away. The kids need you. And you don't have any kids, whatever, get involved in extended family organization and play the role that you should be playing. You're not 20 anymore. Okay? You're not. I'm 70. You know, most of the people in the world look like kids to me. But you can't run around hugging people. They think you're creepy. But you want to. You go, oh, aren't they precious? I have no idea. That's another thing that the media should be given is the idea of how precious human life is. And it's insane that we send our children off to war. I mean, good Lord. We work those things out. Where are the artists around the world? Where are the mystics? You know, you need to listen to those people. And they are not power mongers or greedy hoarders. They're people that are in the love flow. But don't criticize people because they got a lot of money or they don't have a lot of money or whatever. Just bring them into the love flow. Bring them into the love flow. And, it's like what's right for diet for one is not the same for another. If it's an athlete, they're going to eat a much bigger breakfast. It's not. Because they're burning it up. So, yeah. So understand all those things and embrace the great reality of love. And the healing path, the mystic healing path, again. Do what it takes so that you can feel the needs in their helplessness, those situations in which you were helpless. So that then you can know that those needs and circumstances are in the past, and those needs are losses. Grieve the losses. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself time. Grieve those losses. Get out if you need it. Grieve those losses. And when you pass through that and let go of those old needs, then you can forgive more from your heart. That really blesses the world. And after that, the greatest blessing you can give for yourself in the world is to find your remorse for the times in which the hurt in you, the helplessness, chains, and twisted symbolic perspectives in you hurt other people. And after that remorse, then's when you're born again. Not from a magic chant or a word or getting dunked in water or sprinkled with water or whatever. Walking around the mulberry bush clockwise or counterclockwise. No. The real rebirth I've just described for you. You can check these against some of the sayings of some of the great mystics, and there's a lot of convergence. Okay. I think I've covered these subjects a little more awake today than I've been. I love to say at the end of these presentations, namaste, because it means all of this that I'm talking about, all of this reality of virtuous love, potential for it, and the union we all share in the amazing and mysterious universe that exists in each of us. Well, it's a way of speaking and honoring that perspective in others while acknowledging that oneness and that existence of the same thing in yourself. So, namaste. And since I'm a bit of a ham, and I do like to sing, I'm going to sing an Irish blessing to you. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of His hand. Namaste, and have a good day, y'all.